Well, I've had a lot of fun with you today, but we've got to have a very serious moment. The last chapter is about a problem, I guess a culture that we have in the Marine Corps. We've had a culture for a long time. And unfortunately, this culture is something we've got to look at and we've got to try to do some adjustment. A while back, our commandant was chatting with a group of Marines about binging and drinking and the problems that go with it. And one of the Marines said, well, we were born in a tavern, what's the problem? And General Neller said, we might have been born in a tavern, but we don't have to die in it. We have, I want to read to you, or actually I want somebody else to do it. Is PFC Monahan here?
Hoorah!
Tim, would you read the letter from Neller to the widow that died at Camp Pendleton recently, the widow of the Marine that just died recently?
From General Neller. Have no idea if we will have any success in changing our culture, attitude, behavior, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Each Marine, sailor, has to decide for him, herself, what path to follow, but I am counting on them following the right path. And
you know, this Marine at Camp Pendleton was a squared away Marine. He'd been to Afghanistan, he'd been in war on 2 visits, 2 deployments. He'd come home and he's on duty at Camp Pendleton, and another Marine, who I'm sure is going to dread this the rest of his life, driving crazy, out of control, and drunk, killed him. Later, this Marine, Mrs. Davis, his widow, wrote a letter that she wanted to share with Marines. Do you have that there, Tim?
Widow pleads with Marines to stop drunken driving. My husband's best friend happened to be serving with him and volunteered to do my notification, Davis told Marines on Friday at Henderson Hall, Virginia. I know that haunts him every single day. Having to knock on my door that morning and tell me that my husband was killed while standing duty, that my husband, who had deployed repeatedly, who had trained dangerously and always came home safely, was killed by one just like you in uniform. Marine Commandant offers blunt talk on alcohol. Davis spoke at a town hall held by Marine Corps Commandant General Robert Neller, who showed a picture of her husband for all to see. It is so important to me that you guys realize that this is not just a picture, she said. This isn't just a story when you leave here. This Marine has 2 children. He has a little boy who will never have his dad teach him how to ride a bike because of this selfish act. He has a little girl who will never have her dad walk her down the aisle. He left behind hundreds of Marines who love him, who bled with him, who served with him.
You know, Sergeant Major Lamposen gave me some stats. In the year 2014, 930 Marines were discharged for alcohol or drug problems. In year 2015, over 1,000. In the past year, 2016, 120 Marines died. Active duty Marines died. Only 1 in combat. Suicides, motorcycles, drunk driving, binging. You know, we take care of each other, but we've got to get better at it. I met some time ago a Dr. Philip Bonard. Dr. Bonard is a magna cum laude graduate of a small college in Indiana, one with a pretty good football team. And Dr. Philip told me that the World Health Authorities estimate there are something like 200 million people that are alcoholic, like 10% of the world. And that 5 drinks constitutes binging, which is probably worse than being chronic alcohol. 4 drinks for women, 5 for men. He also stated that the downside of this is people that binge have a stronger chance of cardiac arrest, stronger chance of shorter life. They have suicide, they have marital problems, they have something called exioticity. I think it's a 7-syllable word. It's hard for an Irishman, but it means your aggregate damage from binge drinking slowly deteriorates your brains. It's time to stop it. I want to tell you a little personal experience. This gentleman here, Nick Calvert, was my lifelong roommate. He was a submariner, and he went long periods of time at sea without liquor. So when he came home, he binged. And in 1980, he had a sports car in San Diego, went over a cliff. One of the most phenomenal men I've ever known wasted. You know, and the Marine Corps has got too many of these guys. It goes back throughout our history. Anthony Gale, born in Dublin, Ireland, came to America and was one of the best, toughest warriors our Corps had. When he went to the Tripoli Pirates, when he went in the short war we had with France, he was highly decorated and constantly promoted. When he's back at Marine headquarters, he observed Lieutenant McKenzie. Lieutenant McKenzie had abused and verbally beaten up a Marine sentry, and he got so upset with him he had the Marine sentry put in irons. Then Lieutenant Anthony Gale went right up to him and slapped him, challenged him to a duel, and the next morning killed him in a fair fight. Then Commandant Barrels put him up for a trial, acquitted him, and wrote a letter to several people saying maybe Navy officers will have more respect for Marine officers now. Well, Tony Gale, went on with this outrageous career, constantly doing well in the field, in combat. Finally gets back to Washington, D.C. as the most senior Marine in the Corps and becomes our 4th Commandant. Does anybody know what we do on 10 November on every Commandant's grave? Anybody? Well, you should know. We put a wreath on every grave, worldwide, wherever the Commandant's buried. A Marine in dress blues puts a wreath there and gives him a salute, except for one Commandant. Because after he got back and became Commandant, he had a row with the Secretary of Navy, and he was doing a whole bunch of other womanizing, heavy drinking, and he was court-martialed again. This time it stuck. And he finally went to Kentucky, where he faded away, and no one knows where the man's buried. We have to take care of each other. Tell you, so I drink. In fact, let me tell you about my drinking history. I've been guilty of binging 3 times. And I remember driving right after that, many, many years ago, but to this day, feel what might have happened, what damage I might have done. Unfortunately, I escaped those incidences. But I still have a glass of wine, sometimes 2 a night, but I've learned over the years that I never have it without a glass of water. I use the water for thirst or nervousness, and I drink no more than usually 1 glass, sometimes 2 a night. You've got to control it. You've got to make sure that you take care of your fellow Marines and they get home safely. Think about it. All your Marines went through your school years, high school, college. You went off to OCS, Paris Island, the only boot camp. You graduated, you spent through all this training, and in one stupid moment, this title and everything is wasted and thrown away. As you know, I've had a lot of titles. I was introduced rather royally. I've had a lot of titles, and the title I appreciate most is being a Marine. But let me tell you, in the process of having this long resume, I associate with a lot of people in the military, sports, and corporate world. Some real stars. Let me tell you one thing they all had in common. One common denominator they all had. None of them were binge drinkers. Take care of each other. As you know, I was embedded. When I was embedded, I saw Marines, our Marine Corps today. I think our Marines today are the best Marines we've ever had. Watching them in action, I wonder if I ever wore the same fabric, the same uniform. Best Marines ever. When I travel, when I go around the schools where I speak, or corporations where I might be on the board, they ask me where they might learn leadership. Well, I tell them I didn't learn leadership in any college 101 course or in any business environment. I learned leadership at a little island off the coast of South Carolina, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, from each and every NCO and officer I met. You know why, Tim? I'll tell you why. Because they're embedded in a culture of excellence founded on discipline and virtue. As I've said before, once a Marine. Thank you. Semper Fidelis. That's what I missed. Is there stuff here?
About 11 minutes, 11 to 12 minutes.
Too long. Too long. I'm going to try to cut back on that a little. Cut back on my stuff a little bit. Here's what the comment I wrote, the email he sent me on it.